And I just want to welcome everybody to More After the Game. I told you I'd be coming in and checking back in, especially for our Lions Nation app. Man, what a tough one. That was a big loss. I didn't expect it. I know many of you, after seeing what this team did the previous 3 weeks, I think a lot of you were on the fence about whether or not this team could go and get over the hump on the road in a division against the Chicago Bears. I have to admit, I really thought and actually predicted that the Lions would win against Chicago because I felt that their defense, the Chicago Bears defense, would have a tougher time than they did. I didn't expect them to get the pressure that they got against Goff and this offensive line. And I really thought the running game would be a little bit more effective. Now, granted, Chicago's defense played better. I think that they had a decent game plan in play against this Lions offense. The Lions defense, unfortunately, was not able to offset the fact that the offense had costly turnovers in the red zone, the fact that they were not able to capitalize and get points on the board. Those are the obvious. But more importantly, that they couldn't make it competitive enough to where Chicago had to all of a sudden start to uh, adapt and change their game plan offensively because the game was tighter. So it gave them much more that they could work with. The adjustments made at halftime, I thought, would be a little bit better. The Lions were able to come out and actually put points on the board. That's great. We've seen them have not yet a complete 4 quarters of football. I mean, I think if we start there, that tells the whole thing of what we have with this football team so far. Now, the effort is still there. I think this team is still playing hard. I think they're flying around. I think that they're doing a lot of things to put themselves in a position to be able to win a first football game. They're competing, but too many things are offsetting the effort. Again, the penalties, the turnovers, penalties weren't as bad as they were, in the previous games, but that's still something that's got to be addressed. The coverages need to be tighter. I know they're struggling in the secondary a little bit. They're having a tough time against teams, especially when their offensive line has time. When our defensive line can't get the pressure, it allows the opposing offense to be able to kind of cherry pick and then just pick them apart in pieces. Now, when you look at the time possession, was great. The Lions have continued to have opportunity. So it's not like they're not getting it. It's not like the defense isn't getting the ball back. They're getting it, but they're just not being able to execute and capitalize on a more consistent level to make it more competitive. Seeing this team fight and scrap their way back, that's awesome. But if this team can be competitive for all quarters, and then also have consistent defensive play, not give up the big plays in the secondary. We too often are they giving up those chunk yards in the passing game, and those come back to bite you. Fields played a lot better than he's played in the previous weeks. Then you got this rotation of quarterbacks over in Chicago. Fields stepped up and he made some plays. I thought he threw some ropes that if you ask him to replicate that and you ask the receivers to have the toe tag drag swag and all that stuff they got going on, look, they do that. I know Nate'll kill me for messing that up, but this is a team that I feel just if they can clean up some of the smaller pieces, they would be able to at least be more competitive and be in a closer position to win. So we're getting there. So if any of you are wanting to chime in, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments. I'll be on briefly. I'm on my way back from Chicago, so I decided to pull over, made a phone call back to Michigan and to the studio, told them let's go live so we can at least have some conversation and some dialogue. So for those of you that want to chime in and want to talk a little bit, whether you want to vent, whether you want to give me your thoughts, I know there's many of you that may want to talk about the fourth down decision, whether or not the Lions should kick the field goal or whether they should have gone for it on fourth down to try and get the touchdown. I'd love to have conversation about that. I have my opinion. I thought that it was a good call. I thought in terms of them going forward, Coach Campbell has mentioned that he felt that perhaps a timeout would have brought them off the field. Some are arguing that maybe there should have been a different play called. I think the play was right. I don't see anything wrong with that. What I saw was it within the execution. Otherwise, I thought that they had, what they needed. I know, hey, Dynamite, DOLO Dynamite. Listen, man, all I'll say is this. When you ask about what happened, I mean, we all saw it. This team got behind. They got down early. They weren't able to score in the red zone. That's all the things that we all saw. But they still had an opportunity. You know, you got to be able to come back from 14 points. This team just doesn't have the talent and the explosiveness offensively to all of a sudden change the course of a game in one play. That's what you see. Can they put together drives? I think they've proven that. If you look at their previous 3 games, this team has shown that they can sustain drives, that they can move the ball down the field, they can methodically and with surgical precision pull apart defenses. It's when they have to press and they have to have that big play. They got to have that special moment. They can't seem to conjure that up. And that's because they don't have the playmakers in the key positions that can get you that regardless of the coverage. Those that just say, you know what, no matter what happens, either I'm going to break free for a big run for 50, 60, 80 yards to I'm just going to throw the ball down the field and we're going to have to let one of our playmakers go up and make a play. That hasn't been developed yet. So that's what I saw the difference in this game and other games when they fall behind. It's a bad place for this team to be. We go back and we look, even when we go look at some of the stats from this game, the Lions had 23 first downs to Chicago's 20. So again, they were able to move the ball against this defense. A lot of people say, well, Chicago got all this pressure and they got after Goff and all these things. That's true. But the Lions had ample opportunities. They had ample opportunities in the red zone. They had ample opportunities moving the football down the field. And they, in fact, moved it against the Chicago Bear defense. The difference is they cost turnovers at the most costly time that negated enough points for this team to be competitive in Chicago. You know, I don't think Goff played scared. Definitely not. Any quarterback that's back there is playing with a certain sense of awareness and urgency. I do believe that if you look at even one free play when there was an offsides and he had opportunity hit, it was a free play. You know, you want to see him give the receiver an opportunity to make a play. I saw opportunities where there were some overthrows, even one that was in the end zone that really sailed way out of bounds. There was an opportunity to at least give your guy a chance in the red zone, in the end zone, one-on-one to try and make a play. So there were some opportunities that I saw that he missed. I don't think he was the sharpest. I don't think that he played his best game, and his pocket awareness seemed to be there. But the pressure at times, because they were in predictable down and distance, forced him to really not have the ability to go through reads. So he really did had to get to those reads a lot faster. And I don't think this offense is clicking at a level between Goff and his receivers to where they recognize hot reads, where they can recognize certain audibles that they can go to that create matchup problems or put them in a position to where he can trust the receivers on the other side. You know, look at Raymond. Here's someone I don't think many of us expected to be having the season so far that he's had in the last couple of games. This guy's kind of broken out. He's showing these spurts of being able to make plays. You look for these different individuals to emerge as playmakers offensively. And Raymond, I thought, is he's not thinking. I mean, he's actually doing that. I think that they are trying to do more. They're trying to, you know, Coach Campbell even said in his post-game press conference, he doesn't know which players he has or doesn't have in the building. He knows that there are players that he needs to have in that building that can make plays. And if they don't, then they're going to continue to figure out how do they get them there? How do they get them physically in that building on that team so that they can start to execute? Hey, what's up, Michael Banks? Hey, man, I know your heart's got to be broken, man. Going downfield, I think that this is a team that needs to get the ball down the field. They have to be able to get bigger plays. You know, those 12, 15, 20-yard passes have to happen. I think the offensive line struggled at times. They had some trouble today going against athletic, smaller, faster guys at times. Also some athletic interior linemen, which exposed them a little bit, I thought. I thought they got a little bit exposed there. So that's something they're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to and figure out how do they handle that. You know, this was a game where things did go wrong. You know, Mike, I do believe that when they start to compound, that's when you got to start to kind of slow the game down. Or as a coaching staff, you got to figure out, where do we put this team in a position to where, one, we mitigate our ability to be overwhelmed. We put our team in a position to where we can lean on strength, which I think is the running game. I don't think they used the running game quite as effectively as they could. They didn't get 100 yards rushing today, but I thought they could have offset some of the things the Bears were doing with the running game. So I thought that was abandoned a little bit. Hey, Zoom, I'll tell you this, man. You can't get into the red zone that many times and not score points, even if you walk away with field goals. And I know that's what a lot of people are going to look at. A lot of you are going to look at and say, you know what, this is a team that had the opportunity with field goals, even if they just kick field goals and those times that they were in the red zone that they didn't walk away with any points, then there's an opportunity for 12 points. There's an opportunity for them to either be on top or to only need a field goal to get back into the game versus needing 2 scores at the end. And that's even if they didn't walk away with touchdowns. So I agree. This is a team that's it's not good enough to not score points. This team is not good enough to just give up plays and opportunities. It's not good enough to say, you know what, we can give up big plays or busted coverage, and that's okay. We'll offset that, or we'll get it back on the next one. I know you mentioned Dolomite, that dynamite there, that Goff fumbled a few times. Yeah, he had some miscues. There was pressure. The ball, he's got to feel that pressure coming around him in the pocket. He's got to be able to, sometimes you're just going to have to take the sack. When you feel certain things, coaches will tell you, when you start getting people around you, they got to protect the football 100%. The linemen have to do a little bit better in giving a bigger pocket when that happens. But the quarterback's main job is he's got to hold on to the football. Coaches don't care where the turnovers occur. They just can't happen. For this team, again, not good enough to give away points, to give up busted coverages, to have miscommunication, to miss tackles, or any of those things, and think that they're going to be able to be competitive and win. If there's one thing that I think I heard Coach Campbell talk about that was most frustrating for him, is that they just got to give themselves a chance. He's not questioning this team's confidence. He's not questioning this team's ability to fight, but what he's questioning is ability to be consistent, to have playmakers emerge. They're a young team, and he still doesn't believe that there's excuses as you're growing into this to be making some of the mistakes that they make. All right, let's see. It's still crazy how we didn't score in the end zone in the third going into the fourth. You know what? It's true. It's we can harp on it all day. Leaving points on the board is a killer. That was probably one of the bigger ones today, along with just some big plays in the defensive secondary, and the coverage seemed to be there, but somehow, you know what? Let's not take everything away. Fields made some great throws. His receivers made some outstanding catches. The coverage was there, and that's part of the game too. So you can't take and say this team did it all on their own and they were their own worst enemy. Chicago made plays. Their defense caused turnovers. You had receivers who made some outstanding catches and ran some really good routes. You had really good protection that shut down the Lions' pass rush at times. And if you look at the way Fields was really attacking that second level of the defense, that was, I won't say it was surprising, but the fact that he was able to do it so effectively, and it seemed almost consistently, that surprised me. So this is, where do they go from here? I don't know. When you look at questions asked by DOLO Dynamite that is there any reason Swift wasn't used a lot? I was questioning that too. I don't think anything was wrong with him. that I'm aware of. I know the Lions didn't release or put out anything that there was any issues there. I thought we'd see more of that combination. I thought we'd see more with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift kind of carrying the load, especially against their aggressive defense. Chicago wasn't afraid to go man coverage. And when they go man coverage, I think if our running backs haven't shown us one thing, and that is they have the ability to beat the man-to-man coverage when you match them up with linebackers, even when they get matched up sometimes with the defensive backs, and they're able to catch it on the swing passes, or they're able to catch the ball out of the backfield and be a part of that passing game. One, they're hard to bring down individually. Two, they seem to create matchup problems because of their evasiveness and the fact that they're elusive, and they have very good footwork. So with Swift, I thought they needed more of him, and or with Williams. I wasn't opposed. I thought Jamal Williams was doing a fantastic job. I thought he was getting 3, 4, 5 yards. That's good enough. And if you mix that in with some of the short passes, while conservative, it's effective. And that's how you will build confidence and consistency with this team. Also, your quarterback's not holding the ball as long against an aggressive defensive unit like we saw. But you know, everything's pretty matched up. Total plays, Lions had 67, Chicago had 57. You had total yards, 348 for the Lions, 373 for the Bears. Yards per play, Lions 5.2, the Bears 6.5. Passing, the Lions outpassed them. You know, Goff had 258 yards and Fields had 185. Goff was 24 of 38. But you go back and you look at the yards per pass. Again, it was 6.1 for Goff. Fields had 10.3. They're basically getting a first down every time they pass the football. But the Lions weren't bad. I mean, it's short passes. It's smaller passes. Speak easy. What's good? I'm glad you joined. Man, I'm good, but I'll tell you what. I think I would feel a lot better. I really have bought into really being on this side of it. I'm trying to keep the nation. I'm trying to keep the fans upbeat, trying to make sure that we understand that sometimes things get worse before they get better. I know you don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to make excuses for a team being 0-4. But I do believe they need to get better. All right, the red zone recipe. All right, from Randy. So the red zone recipe needs to be run, shoot, dot. Okay. I agree, man. The field goal, I get it. When they're inside the 20 and we're not having definitive ways in which to work our way into the end zone, that becomes problematic. You're not going to be able to throw into the end zone all the time. Sometimes you really gotta grind it out. You got to work your way in. You got to get some underneath and crossing routes. You're going to see more man and combination coverages. So your play calling has to anticipate that. And I'm not saying that offensive coordinator Lynn isn't thinking that way, but you have some really good tools. I think their formations and some of the bunch and some of the trip set and some of the mixed plays where you are getting picks and all those things can help you get into that deeper into that red zone. But the Lions, that wasn't their problem today. The problem was executing, not turning the ball over and walking away with points. You know, we can go back and try and figure out what to play calling, but they were in the red zone. They made it. They made it there. So that wasn't the whole doom and gloom for them not getting there. If they had executed, yes, game would have been different. Game would have been 100% different. But, you know, this is a game that hurts. You know, speak easy. I'm not trying to sit here and paint this blue sky for all the fans. But what I am trying to paint is that this team, it needs some work. It needs more players. It needs better discipline at times. But I can work with this team, meaning adding and developing players, accountability for players that you have here. I like the fact, I believe this coaching staff isn't tied. See, sometimes you can come into a team where you got players you just can't get rid of. You're stuck with who you have. And no matter how well they play or how bad they play, you're stuck because of cap reasons. You're stuck because of political reasons. You're stuck because they have just been the face of that organization. This team coaching staff right now is not tethered to really anyone other than Goff. Maybe a few of the younger players that, a guy like Penei Sewell, new draft picks, and some of your offensive linemen that are just they're really good players. But when you start looking aside from that, this is going to be a rotation until they feel they have the right people. So everyone's going to have to really work. And this is, I haven't seen a team like this before. The most of the teams I've been with, you could go across the board and say, these players you can't touch. And if you do, you got to get another player of equal or greater value than the player you're getting rid of. The Lions don't have that scenario. They have a, what have you done for me lately? I mean, that's the scary part of this. If I'm a player going, I have to earn my way. One mistake, one critical mistake could cost me my position. It could cost me my career with the Detroit Lions. Maybe not in the NFL, but it could cost me my position of being a member of this football team. Coaches have the upper hand. I don't think they teach out of fear. They're not driving this team out of fear. But what they're driving them out of is expectation. And that in itself is a very, very, very good motivation. So I'm going to look for that. I'm going to look and see how this team starts to continue to rotate and provide opportunity to different people that want to play, that cannot make mistakes week after week, that can rise up to the expectation of athletic ability and potential at the NFL level. And right now, it's rebuild, but at the same time, it's rebuild with purpose and expectation. And as they put those bricks in, they're not saying, hey, we need that player because we need that player. They're saying we need that player because they can make a difference. And that's what I see. It is, Ken, appreciate you jumping in. It is hard to watch this team. It is hard if you're a long-time fan or a fan that's just coming on board and wanting to really start following this franchise and this organization, to say, what is motivating me to do that? I mean, we all got to dig in deep and try and figure out what keeps us wanting to follow this football team and not just throw our hands up in the air. If I'm asked, okay, Dolo, you're asking me to give my real expectations on a record and told me not to be nice. I'm not going to be nice. I came in, I was thinking this team could win 7 football games and they were going to lose 10. That's by no means saying, hey, this is a team and an organization you should be really geared up and happy for and just being all out on because they're going to finish 7-10. No postseason. I now look at this and I don't know if this team can get to 7 wins after being 4 in the hole out of the chute. But realistically, can they hit 5 to 7? I'm going to keep 7 as being kind of now like that pinnacle. That's kind of like where they can get to. If they can do better than that, that'll be great. This is not an easy schedule that they have remaining, right? We see that it's not an easy schedule, and they're going to have to figure out a way to just win. And I don't think they're going to be ugly wins. I think they just have to win. They just have to play 4 quarters of football. They have to capitalize. They have to minimize mistakes because they're not good enough. Zoom, you're talking about the fact that they would have to pretty much play a perfect game in order to win. Right now, they have to. Not, I won't say perfect, but they got to be scoring. I mean, everybody's got to be grading above 90%. Penalties have to be very minimal. They have to make plays. The other thing defensively, this team has got to figure out a way to make turnovers. They have to get to the quarterbacks. They got to force some fumbles. They have to start to get more play in the offensive backfield, interceptions, broken up passes, something. Not incompletions because the quarterback overthrows or underthrows or the ball gets tipped at the line. I mean where the defensive backs are covering. Even in tight coverage, getting the ball out. Receivers make a catch in front of you. You got to strip it. You got to go after it. I want to see how many times have we looked so far, because a lot of plays have been made with in front of our defensive backs. Okay, that's okay. You're going to get beat. You're going to get some guys going to catch passes. It's unrealistic to think that no passes going to be. How often are we trying to strip the ball? And I pay attention to those type of details, even when I'm looking at this, because I knew when I caught the football, every time someone was always trying in practice and in the game. And they prepared me in practice because guys were always trying to pull the football out. When a linebacker grabbed me or a defensive back grabbed me, linebackers came because they were stronger. They were trying to rip it out. Linemen, they were trying to rip it out. So I want to see that aggressiveness there. Everything King, appreciate you jumping on. We're here chatting it up. We're here talking a little bit about the Lions post game here on, more after the game. I'm always looking to jump on, share some insight, but also have you ask me questions. And we can go all day. It's raining. I just got back to the border of Michigan, out of Indiana, and left the game just to get outside of the traffic. I was out in Chicago this weekend, hanging out with some friends, some business acquaintances, but then also turned Sunday into game day and had an opportunity to check out the Lions. Lots of people out at the stadium. The rivalry between the Lions and the Bears is big. They're in the division. There are a lot of people who are coming out that, regardless of either the team's records, they have interest in this game because we're so close and in the division. Speak easy. Come on, man. You can't ask me would we rather have Goff or Fields. Hey, listen, you got to go with our quarterback. I don't have a problem with Goff. Let's attack a big one. I know that's going to come up, right? And that is the fourth down play. You need 2 scores. There's been passes. We can look at, some of the balls that got, Goff had a hard time holding on to the ball today. When he was going up to give a call at the line of scrimmage, all of a sudden the ball is hiked, leads to another turnover. I mean, those things you can clean up, but they just should not happen. When you look at Goff and you look at the fourth down play, I was asked, should you kick the field goal or could you go for it? There's no automatic with field goals. Everybody just walk away from that. Unless it's a game-winning one that is 66 yards and it's at home and there's no way and it's impossible for the Lions to lose, but it happens. But there are no gimmies there. Just like there's no gimme that the Lions would score, would convert the fourth down, 4th and 1. I thought the play call was actually good. Some people say huddle up, call another play, figure it all out, but the defense is going to do the same thing. Sometimes it is the 2-minute, it is the rush, it is the hurry up offense that you can get people thrown off. You may not agree with that on 4th down, but if you have an experienced quarterback, and I know that just saying, well, the receivers aren't quite there and you don't have it in the skill position, it's a young team. I get that. I that's fair. But I thought the route to the left, if you bring motion or you do some type of reverse motion, one, you get the defensive back that's covering that wide receiver moving. And if you do that, that's the quarterback can call a motion anytime. So that's one. I wonder why we had him stationary. There was hesitation at the line of scrimmage. And I know that the receiver did that in order to kind of just real quick, let that defensive back, let his guard down, and then be able to go in or out. Because he has the liberty to go inside or outside. Because it's man. That guy doesn't know. But what it does is you can't break away and you can't separate fast enough when you're stationary, because you're basically having to go against press coverage, which takes time. That was the only criticism I had of that. I like to see that guy in motion, come off of the ball, and then be able to step, hit the jam, and then create separation at point of contact with that defensive back. And then the quarterback sees that happen a lot faster. I think Goff puts it on him a little bit better, or the receiver has an ability, because he's already in motion and on the run, he can track that ball down a lot faster. He can't accelerate from where he was when that ball was slightly outside. And that could be picky, that could be a little detailed, but that's how detailed it gets when the focus and the mentality has to narrow down at that point to know what's going to give me the best opportunity to make this play successful. And there's too many weapons on this team to not convert 4th and 1. Ball games on the line. Even as a development team and a young team. That's what I see. I would not call it any different. I think also when you have the opportunity and you need a touchdown and a field goal, you're that deep and time is ticking like it is, you got to go for the touchdown. You got to convert that first down. You got, by any means necessary, you have to try and convert that first down to try and give yourself an opportunity for the touchdown. If you do that, you still have the opportunity to kick field goal at any point. But now Chicago has to play for that touchdown to defend it. And they're playing for defending on the field goal. They may still try and give you the field goal, but you got better play calling opportunities. If you kick the field goal and they know you need a touchdown to come back to tie the game up or to win it, that defense, especially a defense that is disciplined, makes it a hell of a lot harder for you to score a touchdown at the end. And I see this team having an easier go at it at scoring a field goal in that scenario than scoring a touchdown. I don't know if Coach Campbell saw it that way, but that is the way I saw it. So I don't have a problem with that. I mean, many of you can disagree with me on that. That's not a problem because I think you can make a case both ways. But that's been my experience, not only as a player, but someone who's been in those conversations of why you make that type of a decision. And what I'm saying is typically the more popular one that coaches will opt for, and the players who understand how difficult it is to score touchdowns in game-winning drives or those last moments, even if you have, all your timeouts. Zoom, always wondering why we don't use the swing routes a little bit more. Those plays where we get a lot of yards. I've seen that because they've been matched up. When the running backs have been able to be effective and Goff is able to kind of hold those linebackers or hold the safeties and defensive backs at bay because he's looking downfield, but he knows that swing pass is coming and he gets it out to the flat or he throws it out on that bubble to one of the running backs out of the backfield. It has been highly effective because it's really getting the running backs out in space. They're not having to go between guards and tackles. They're not having to go between the line and try and navigate all that congestion. They're out in space where typically we've seen them wreak havoc on would-be defenders and tacklers. And typically we've seen that they've been able to get additional yards, 1, 2 to 5 yards after initial contact. Even if you look at yards after contact with our running backs, they're ranking high in the league. They're ranking high in the passing game in terms of receptions and yards. And then when you combine those two, they're doing it pretty much just as good, if not better, than everyone else in the league. So you have the weapons. Hawkinson, everyone's looking for him, but I still think he's viable. I think he's a guy that can beat double coverage. We've seen it. And that's why I think this team has some potential. They have the ability to develop some talent and tools. Raymond has started to emerge. I'm not crowning him as being the next anything. I'm not saying that he's going to be able to continue that between now and the end of the year. But I will say that's what Coach Campbell, when he talks about looking for players who will emerge and start to draw attention and start to have the other opponents pay attention to him, that becomes kind of how he's looking to build this foundation of this team. 0-4, one of 2 teams that are left in the league with that record. Jacksonville, haven't scouted them. I don't know kind of why they're in the position that they're in, but I know the Lions, although we didn't expect them to be that great of a team this year, I think we're all disappointed that they're 0-4. We didn't expect them to be 0-4 at this point, but they're here. The question is, do we believe enough in them and in this coaching staff? And not just the players they have, but their ability to pivot with or without these players or away from these players or bringing in new players, even if it's on a weekly basis, to see who can come in and offer them plays and the ability to make plays. This team is willing to take those chances because they know this is a year to be evaluating that. This is a year to start to put those fundamental blocks in place. And whether they're doing it week in and week out on a weekly basis, or they have some other formula that they're using, I believe that's what's happening. And so there is something a little different here. 0-4, hey, let's not beat our chest, but also let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't think that this is as bad as we've seen. I don't think this team is as bad as it could have been, but I think things can be and will be a lot better. So that's all I had. I just wanted to chime in a little bit. Looks like the rain is slowing down a little bit. I'm gonna get back on the road. I want to be real responsible and not be doing this live. I appreciate those back in Michigan in our studio there that's helping me to jump on here and go live. Appreciate all of you jumping on. Continue to tell everyone about Lions Nation U and Lions Nation Unite app. They can download it at lionsnationunite.com. Continue to join our community. Continue to encourage them to come over and give their thoughts. We're going to be continuing to add shows and content on a weekly basis, and we're looking forward to make this a place where we can go before, during, and after the game to have great dialogue about the Detroit Lions, and also to really excite our fan base, but also allow them to have the ability to give their thoughts. So, hey, all right. Shout out to the people in the stew. Okay. Hey, I appreciate Speak Easy, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Mike. I appreciate really, man, everybody. Ken, all of you for coming on and being a part of the show. Dolo, thanks for joining in. Tell everybody else, come over to our channel, hang out with us, and we'll have more things to talk about. We'll have better days. So appreciate you all, and I'll catch you all next time. All right. Lions U. Lions Nation U, baby.